1212 Radio Culture on a sabbatical morning, blessed love people. First off, let's apologize for the late start of the show. Sincere apologies. And it really grieves my heart because today's topic is loaded and we need a lot of time to do justice to it. Don't worry if we're not able to exhaust it enough. This is the first in a series of discussions that will be happening between us and the members or the representatives of the Advocacy Committee of the Rastafari Council, Ghana. Yes, indeed, we are here to take on the tough topics. And today we're starting with the NACOC Bill. The NACOC Bill has been out there for a while now. Seems as if the euphoria has died down a little bit, but not for us. Because I took time to go and check out what really is in that NACOC Bill. And the media did not do us too much good. Because every time they reported on the NACOC Bill, the subject or the angle was about we. We as in, marijuana. But is that what the NACOC Bill is about? Is that what the NACOC Bill really is about? Today we'll be talking to the members of the Advocacy Committee of the Rastafari Council, as I've already said. And hopefully we will be able to dig deep into the discussions, into the topic, and bring out what the NACOC Bill really means for the Rastafari community of Ghana. Like I said, the media was putting the emphasis on we, marijuana. But is that what the NACOC Bill really is about? The Rastafari Council has been at the forefront of the fight to legalize marijuana. At least to decriminalize it. And now there seems to be a certain delusion of that happening, but is that really the case? Has marijuana really been legalized or decriminalized according to the NACOC Bill? If not, what are the implications for the Rastafari community? And that is what we are going to examine today. Stick and stay, we'll be right back when I get my guests on the line. I just smoke it to elevate my mind. I just smoke it to deal with the hustle and the grind. I just smoke it to cope with the times. Oh, marijuana. Oh, my sweet Mary Jane. On my way. You light up my world. Literally. And at the evening as you put me to bed, I feel like a man. Yo, every day we are burn it, sometimes we are run it, enough times we are done it, and when it's fresh, we are sun it. Me say over the hill, the farmer man are growing, and up there in a mponya, them and them a bag it. Down there in a avenue, okubi a buy it. Up on the streets of Lake and Rastaman a burn it. Yo! Mary J, Mary J.
Yes, indeed.
I love to kiss.
Yes, indeed. If you go to some, let me call them more progressive society,
Them see the find it go.
marijuana is not a mystery anymore. What are we waiting for in Ghana? We're waiting for somebody to come and tell us it's all right, but we wait. Meanwhile, Rastaman did tell them long time ago, long time ago, when they didn't even know about the other benefits. Now they know about the other benefits. So they legalized the hemp cannabis. Well, now, if Rastaman did tell you about the hemp cannabis, and after many years you come to realize that it's true, then trust the Rastaman on the other angle too.
Why hip on the news that they legalize her? It really makes no sense to simply terrorize her.
All right, we are going on the line right now to go talk to the representatives of the Advocacy Committee of the Rastafari Council. And like I said, this is the beginning, this is the maiden edition of a series of discussions that we will be having with the Advocacy Committee.
To bring in some jobs and foreign exchange.
Keep it locked on Radio Culture.
All of the ganja prisoners from custody. Mr. Hygie.
Every sabbatical morning, this is where you should be at this time.
All the ghettos around Africa. Rise and take the step.
Could be afternoon for you, but it's morning here in Studio 1 in Texas, USA. Blessed love. My name is Ja Beloved, and I am the Ochiami for today.
Legalize.
On the line right now, we have Russ Michael Kluger.
Legalize it.
Russ Michael Kluger is the administrator, the chief administrator of the Advocacy Committee of the Rastafari Council, Ghana. No, sorry, I think he's the secretary, I think. Well, I'll let them do the introduction themselves. But I think he's the secretary. We also have Ras Kofi Asante, who is actually the head administrator. And then we also have President Kex Pongo on the line right now. Blessed love. Brethren, blessed love. All right. Yes. Okay, so I probably made a mistake in the introductions. I think I corrected myself, but let's get it straight. Can we have some introductions from you, brethren?
Well, my name is Ralph Kluger, the secretary to the Advocacy Commission.
Okay, so I got that right. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. And then we also have hello.
Yes, sir. Blessed Lord, my Lord.
Yeah, me.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Kofi Asante,
Mhm.
administrator for Rastafari Council Ghana and a member of the Advocacy Committee.
All right.
Rastafari greetings.
Every time. And then we also have President Kex, please. Okay, all right. We'll be right back one more time. Please stick and stay. looks like President Kex is having some issues with his phone. We are still waiting for him to rejoin the chat, but we're going to start the discussion. Blessed love, brethren, one more time. So I have Russ Kofi Asante, I have Russ Michael Kluger, and I have Russ Mauli Togbi. Mauli, did you get to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I give thanks.
All right, please.
Russ Mauli, National Organizer, Rastafari Council, and a member of the Advocacy Committee. Give thanks.
Definitely. All right. So like I said, this is only the first in a series of many discussions that we will be having with the intention of actually showing or showcasing the Rastafari Council to the entire world, and also to show the work that the Advocacy Committee is doing, because the Advocacy Committee is doing a lot of work, but because the spotlight is not being shined on it, a lot of people don't know what's going on. Now, well, this is the platform for just that. So, first of all, let me ask you, Ras Kofi Asante, what is the Advocacy Committee all about? What is the central, what's your purpose? What's the central purpose for the Advocacy Committee of the Rastafari Council, Ghana?
Rastafari. Yes, once again, greetings to your listeners. The Advocacy Committee has two main, or should I say three. The main objective of the Advocacy Committee is to fight for the rights of individuals with dreadlocks in either their workplaces or schools. And then secondly, to advocate for the rights of adult users of cannabis. Yeah. So the first thing is to advocate for the rights of persons with dreadlocks. Oftentimes we see discrimination among persons with dreadlocks in schools and in workplaces, mostly Rastafari version. So the Advocacy Committee organizes to fight for the rights of these persons. Secondly, we deal with cannabis. We think adults have the right to use cannabis, coming from our religious point of view as Rastafari. Cannabis for us is for sacramental purposes. When we acknowledge that adults, persons above the age of 18 years, have the right to determine which herbs is good for their use, either for physical or spiritual. And for us, cannabis use among adults is one that we do not see as criminal. And so we condemn laws that criminalizes adults for their use of herbs. So basically, these are the things that, or the objectives of the Advocacy Committee. I give thanks, my Lord.
Nice. All right. So now, judging by what you just said, I would say right? But we all know it's our collective belief or collective knowledge in the fact that adults should be able to decide or determine for themselves what to use and what not to use. And also, enshrined in the Constitution is the religious freedom of people. So that if a group of people determine that they have the right to use certain herbs for sacramental purposes, I think there's a case to be made. But we also know that the laws of the land present a roadblock. So this is what we are here for to discuss today. I want to hear from my other guests before we move on with that. Russ Michael, would you want to say something about that real quick before we advance the discussion?
Well, just like the way my chief administrator has enumerated, for us at the Secretariat, our main focus is to coordinate all the efforts that my boss have just said in order to push this agenda. So in order for us to achieve what my boss just said, we need to press the right buttons. Who are the people that we have to write to? Who are the people that we have to take our case to? Who are the people that we have to bring in to listen to us? and it is and this is what the Secretariat is coordinating in order for us to achieve that purpose. For me personally, my main aim, as my boss has just said, the discrimination of Rasta at website, especially at the public service and the civil service. In Ghana today, you as a man, you can't wear dreadlocks as a government worker. As a government worker, you can never wear dreadlocks because the code of ethics before you get employment, the papers that you sign before you engage as a government worker, there's a clause that specifies the way you have to dress as a man, the way you have to look as a man, the way you have to show your head as a man. And this is what we are trying to break through, as my boss just said.
I see.
So we are coordinating all these issues and see which people, which offices, where can we make our case in order for us to bring out the Rastafari vision, the Rastafari. As you just said, Jallo, you just said that we have the right, Ghana, we have freedom of association, we have freedom of religion. So if my religion, if wearing gloves is part of my identification as a Rasta man, why shouldn't I do so in my website? So these are the work for us. Our work is cut out for us, and this is what we are looking forward to in order to achieve what my boss just enumerated.
I see.
Stands,
yeah, man. All right. Okay, so Rasmauli, I want you to chip in on this one too before we get to the meat on the bone proper, what we are here for to discuss today. Rasmauli.
While there was 99 in the shepherd's tent.
Okay, I'm not sure if Rasmauli can hear me. I see you active, but I don't know if you can hear me. All right. If you cannot hear me, let's move on. Okay, so now today's discussion is about the NACOC Bill. That bill was passed. There was a lot of noise. There was a lot of excitement. A lot of people thought that it meant that now we are free from the shackles of that colonial mentality about being free to use our sacramental herb. Now, we have come to find out that that's far from the reality. That is not true at all. Kofi Asante, after looking at the NACOC bill, what did you see? What did you see in the bill? What's that bill? What does it even represent? Kofi Asante, you there?
Yes, gift cards. Yes, we were all advocating for it. When the bill passed, we realized we didn't meet our expectation as Rastafari, because our position had been that adults have the right to cannabis use. Persons 18 and above have the right, if they so choose, to use cannabis for healing and spiritual purposes. But we realized this law didn't focus on that. However, the limitation is on hemp. When we say hemp, cannabis that ranges with ranges that are THC contents less than 0.0%. So we realize that what this law has allowed is for the industrial cultivation of cannabis of marijuana with less than 0.03 THC. So for us as advocacy committee, this is not satisfactory. This is not our end game. This is not what we desire. However, we think that we can work with this hemp. We can go into hemp production. Now we realize that the state parliament Parliament, if I say the state Parliament and the some institutions are now ready to accommodate the conversation. Once upon a time, the Supreme Court, we didn't hear they have a position or their position on the matter. Now, after their ruling, we realize the 5-4, that means about 4 of our High Court persons consider that we should have the cannabis conversation and Ghana should sort of decriminalize it. But currently, like I'm saying, they have only allowed for 0.03 THC, which is hemp, which doesn't satisfy what we, the Advocacy Committee, we have been about. Our focus has been on marijuana, which is cannabis products with more than 0.03 THC content.
Okay. All right. So Russ Michael, people will also raise the issue of the existing laws, right? And the existing laws do criminalize marijuana. So if we say that we are calling for the freedom to use this herb, in what context are we calling for this? Are we saying let's free up the herb so anybody can use it? Or we are saying that as a sacramental right, Rastafari people should be allowed to use it? What are we saying here?
You see, Jallo, it's a combination of both. The Advocacy Commission of the Rastafari Council of Ghana is progressive in thinking. Okay? So for us, we see this as a first step, as my board just said. At first, you couldn't discuss anything cannabis at all in Ghana. So now that we've had some window to discuss this issue, I think it's a plus to us. Now, it is left for us to make a case. Why do we have to allow cannabis for recreational use? What are the benefits to the human being consuming cannabis for recreational use? What are the effects, the positives? We have to now sit back and take our case to Parliament. We have to do a research because what I see in Ghana, especially Ghana here, I don't know elsewhere, but Ghana here, that anybody that wears locks in ghetto is considered as a Rastafari. But that is not how the Rastafarian faith, that is not how it is. So for me, I think that it is a right step. The right step, the first step, and then the second step will be that we will now do our research and tell the lawmaker, even though they smoke it when they finish, when they close from their offices and go home, but it is hard for them to come into the public to fully support it. So how are they going to do that? It's our work. Our work at the Advocacy Commission now is to present them with a research to let them know that the consumption of cannabis has nothing to do with mental retardedness or inefficiency in your capacity to do something. Because that is the thinking. People think that when you consume cannabis, you can't function properly, and you go mad, and you will be mentally retarded. And that is the fear of the lawmakers. And so I ask this question. Since Canada and California and other places, since they legalized marijuana for recreational use, has all the people in Canada gone mad? Has all the people in the countries that have legalized cannabis, have they gone mad? If no, if the answer is no, then we have a case to present. But the way we present our case is how they're going to buy it.
Good point, because we've been saying this forever. For a very long time, we've been trying to let people know that cannabis or marijuana will not let you go crazy. Why do you think all of a sudden they'll start listening to the same message that they've not listened to for so long? Do we have a fresh approach in delivering this message?
So now we have to present our case with research, back our case with documents, evidential documents, back our case with literature. Listen, I read a literature some time ago. This literature was published by WHO as experts on cannabis. And believe you me, none of these 12 professors, none of them link the consumption of cannabis to madness. So what we have to do now is to dig deep, find the research papers, get our mental health experts in Ghana here, present our case to them. Because when it gets to parliamentary level, these are the people that they will call to come and do representation. So we get these our health experts, let them understand the benefit of cannabis and how beneficial it is to the human body. Now let me just use myself for some example. About 3 to 4 years ago, I was weighing, my weight was about 105 to 107 kilos. When I stand on the scale, that is my weight. And since I started using cannabis, today I'm about 90, 91. Without exercising, without nothing, just using this therapy alone. So the idea now is, how are we going to present our case differently?
Differently, that's the point, right? Because we're dealing with people who have heard this same message for so many years and still haven't budged. So I think there should be a new approach in trying to get this message across.
The new approach now is to get these religious leaders, because in Ghana, religious Catholic and other Protestants, they form majority, and they are the custodians of the people in the communities. So if we are able to present our case to these religious leaders and let them know the benefit of this help, they will now then, relay the information. And so the Advocacy Commission very soon will start, having talks. Last time I discussed with President Pongo, we start having talks with, this religious, they have.
Okay, I hear you, but let's move on to the next step from that, okay? And for that, let me go to Rasmauli for this one. We know very well that the same religious leaders that you mentioned are probably the number one problem when it comes to this thing. And I don't say that lightly. I say that because even when you discuss with politicians, some of them, the only real roadblock that they see is the religious bodies. Because these religious bodies have ingrained in their mind that cannabis is wrong. We even have a name for it, Abonsam Tower, and all these other nonsense things we keep saying. There's a very negative connotation to it. How do you think we can get the same people who represent the biggest problem in this struggle to switch around and say, oh, okay, all right, now let's go and start smoking weed? We know very well that some of the pastors would probably feel some way because they think that, oh, if I'm the first one to stick my neck out and say, oh yeah, let's go and smoke weed, the other people will turn around and start pointing fingers at me. It is a very mammoth task, don't you think so? Let me hear you, Rasmauli, if you are back now. Rasmauli. I don't know. I think there's something going on with your line, Rasmaul. I don't know if you can hear me. If you can hear me, please fix it and let's push forward, because this is the second question we've thrown at you and we're not hearing from you. I don't know if you can hear us in the first place. So let me go to Ras Kofi Asante for that question. Ras, you are the administrator. What is the grand plan? Because we know that the same religious leaders that you mentioned, in my estimation, are the biggest problem, honestly, when it comes to the legalization of cannabis, because the politicians don't want to offend them. So until they budge, the politicians are not going to budge. And I do not see them easily buying into that idea. What say you?
Yes, sir. I give first, my lord. My lord, for me, I think we must appreciate that most religious leaders, they are quite miseducated about the issue of cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
They have taken a religious position which is not even consistent with their religious doctrine,
Mm-hmm.
because to be anti-cannabis and to label cannabis as Abonsam Tawa, it is against even Christianity or the Christian religion, because Christianity taught us that God created everything.
Yeah.
And after creation, He considered
everything good.
Yes, the things He has created as good. So it is mostly man-made that we are supposed to be very cautious about. But instead, our pastors and religious bodies, they don't have issues with man-made products like wine and alcohol.
And cigarettes.
Rather, cigarettes and what have you. These are all legal things in our country. Yet they are disdained for cannabis, which I think it stems from the prohibitionists, their teachings. Once upon a time, cannabis wasn't illegal. And what made cannabis illegal is what some of the institutions we have to revisit. Some of our pastors don't appreciate that there was a draconian measure or wish for cannabis to be illegal. They don't appreciate that cannabis being criminal is a target for Black people. Most of our pastors even aware that cannabis, the law against cannabis affects the user more than even the benefits it has to the nation. So I think education, engaging religious bodies and exposing them to the positions they have. Number one, the positions they have on cannabis and its implications. Then the fact that also we have to expose the religious leaders to the abolitionists and the prohibitionists. Some of the work that they have done, most of the work that they have done, turns out to undermine Black people, undermine Black freedom, undermine Black rights, Black economic empowerment, and all that. And some of these pastors must be educated to appreciate that. For instance, if you look at the role hemp and cannabis have played in boosting the economy of several countries, I don't think our pastors, they are satisfied with poverty status, the poverty rating, the disease rating status of most of their members. They would want an avenue to address. They would want an avenue to address poverty.
Michael, Ras Michael, please mute your phone until it's time for you to speak. Please. Mute your phone until it's time for you to speak, Ras Michael. Thank you.
These problems, the solution lies with cannabis. If you talk about disease, if you talk about poverty, the churches, even if they, I think we need to begin to educate them also about the economic benefits of cannabis, because in Europe, where even religion was imported from, some religious bodies, some churches are investing in cannabis, and they are seeing it.
Okay.
For me, I think the problem and the solution lies with education. If the pastors, the religious bodies, the churches are educated to understand, number one, what brought the cannabis decriminalization or cannabis criminalization into being, the benefits of cannabis, the fact that cannabis doesn't even make people mad. the fact that God is not against cannabis. I think
Russ, please mute your phone. Please mute your phone, Michael. Please. Mute up, and then when it's time for you to speak, then you can come up. Please.
Yeah, so my love, I think education is what is needed. I remember at one point we petitioned the Ghana police to want to stage a demonstration for cannabis.
And what came up of that?
The police took us to court, and
hello?
The police took us to court. The judge in affirming why we should desist from the march, told us that we need to educate the public a lot, because listening to us and our position on cannabis, it looks like the public is less informed about the kind of information we are sharing, and that we should continue with public education.
But the protest is public education. So what does he even mean when he says that? Because you want to educate people, that's why you want to go on a march, right? That's what it's all about. So what does he even mean when he says that?
Well, you and I appreciate that. Well, the powers that be do not want that kind of education and public engagement. They do not even want us to expose the benefits of cannabis to the public, so that the public can even join the conversation. So I think it was just the powers that be trying to silence us, prevent us from exercising our rights. But the most important thing is, I think the powers that be do not make room for the cannabis conversation for reasons best known to themselves. But this is where I think the political will from our political leaders to criminalize cannabis needs to be secret, because it looks like the politicians themselves, they are not very much interested in internal revenue generation. It looks like we are comfortable with loan facilities from other bodies, but looking at internal revenue generation, where we can finance our own budget for projects and what have you, since currently they lack that. So I think the lack of political will from some of our politicians is why the bill is as it is, because if they have the political will to see their people economically developing, I think this conversation must always be on the table.
I hear you. All right, let's take a quick 1 minute break. We'll be right back with the discussion.
I just smoke it to elevate my mind. I just smoke it to deal with the hustle and the grind. I just smoke it to cope with the times. Oh, my sweet Mary Jane, on my brain. You light up my world, literally. And in the evening as you put me to bed, I feel like a bird. Yo, every day we are born it. Sometimes we are on it. Enough times we are done it. And when it's fresh, we are sun. He say over the hill, the farmer man are growing. And up there in a mponya, them and them a bag it. Don't get in the avenue.
Yes, indeed. And the discussion goes on. Let me tell you that you can catch this show via our app. If you have not downloaded it yet, watch it. Go to the Google Play Store and download our app. It's called Radio Culture. Culture is spelled Kulcha. So once you get on the Google Play Store, just type in Radio Kulcha, Radio Culture, and then download the app. For all of you listening through the app, enough respect. Other ways you can catch the show is by going to our website, www.ghnewsnow.com. Once you're on the homepage, you will see the player on the right-hand side with the words Radio Culture. Click on the player and you're good. You can also catch us on modernghana.com. Once you go to the radio section of modernghana.com, type in Radio Culture and you have us live. And of course, we're streaming this live on YouTube. So if you want to see some visuals, you go to YouTube, you search Radio Culture. Matter of fact, you search GH News Now, and then you will be joining us. Okie dokie, let's go back on the line. Now we have President Kex on the line with us. President Kex, blessed love. Blessed love, President. You there? Legalize it across Africa. President Kex, you there? Yagayo, President. I did hear you now. I beg, speak up small. Speak up small for us. So, all right. So we've been having the discussion for a little while now. We've been talking about, the strategies that we want to use to kind of educate the public and all of that. But let's kick back a little bit. Let's go back to the NACOC Bill, which is really what we are examining, right? What at all is in the NACOC Bill that you would consider positive for the Rastafari community? Is there anything at all in the NACOC Bill that favors the Rastafari community, President?
I cannot see anything that is benefit for the cannabis user, not just the Rastafari community, because we didn't generally apply for the Rastafari community. We applied for the right of the user, the right of the user to not to be seen as a criminal. So we, according to what we heard initially, we heard that the law has been amended so that we want to have a little bit of possession of marijuana for its personal use and shouldn't be trouble. But up till now, I've not seen any clause in the law that says so. Moreover, if you can hear bluntly from the minister that Champong and some judges, all we heard about, they all make up their mind, even the Speaker of Parliament, that they are not considering smoking of cannabis as part of their decriminalization. So my question is, where is the human health aspect of it, which they mention in the law, that some to consider the health of the human, the user? So I keep asking that question and I didn't get any answer. So to me, we didn't win the fight we were fighting for.
But according to Sept Champon, actually, who is one of the leading people doing all of these things, he did state that yes, indeed, there is a clause in there where you could have a certain amount. If not, you could, but then if you are caught with a certain amount, which can be qualified as for personal use, you get something like a fine. You don't get, which is still bad enough, because why should you be fined for using? I don't get it. But he's saying that the jail term aspect is taken off. You're saying that you don't see that in the final bill that came out?
The custodial sentence taken off. But what is the fine about? Why should somebody be criminalized for using cannabis? That's my question.
Okay. Okay.
Why should somebody be criminalized for using cannabis? Why if you get a fine, that means you are still what? Kind of criminalized, but you will not be getting
custodial sentence. Okay. Okay, I hear you. I hear you. But again, also, even that in itself, right? Even that in itself, i.e., getting fined and all of that, without defining, because I remember in my interview with him, I pushed him very hard to tell us what amount would constitute personal use. How did they determine how much a person needs for his personal use, right? So
that is the next question they need to tell us how much quantity and how can they determine how much to be a personal use for someone, especially that you as an example, which is true because some of us, what they might consider a daily personal use, I mean, might not even a one use for some of us. So that aspect, as we didn't define the quantity, it's like a gray area.
yes, it's like they're leaving it to the determination of, say, the police, for instance, or maybe the law courts to determine, oh, this one, yeah, sure, it was just him using it. But then again, if someone is using it, then they would love to have a certain amount where they don't have to make daily treks to go get it. So it's very gray. It's very, very gray over there. Let me come to Mauli. Hopefully we can hear you this time.
Can I say something before you go to that?
Yes, please.
I wanted to stop using the word recreational.
Mm-hmm.
I always say that what I know as a recreational, people who go out once a year or once a month or go on occasion and smoke. They only smoke on occasion. They are the ones who can be classified as
recreational users.
But we who use it on the daily basis, we can't see that a recreational. It's more like an essential edible.
Okay, so you're saying that we should use recreational use in relation to Rastafari, or you're saying that recreational use should completely be struck out of the terminology?
I say we don't use it for recreation. Rastafari or the users who do use it on daily basis don't use it as recreational. It's because you can't use something for recreational when it's every day. It is only when you are going on some recreation, like going to some dance or some park, then you smoke. There are people like that. Because the reason why I say this is that if you the studies I made in year 2000 and early 2000, the recreational use is what they have category of people who use it once in a month or maybe 3 times in a year. Those are the type of people they classify as recreational. But somebody who is having daily, it is not a medicine for it, then it is food. That is why it is classified as an essential edible instead of a recreational use for weed. And then we can defend that because if something is our essential edible, I don't see how come to be criminalized for it if the word essential has something to do with anything.
Okay, so then let's try to interface with the law, the existing laws, right? Because the existing laws criminalize the use of this. Are we saying, and Mauli, maybe you can take this one up, are we saying that as the advocacy committee, we are focused on trying to get the right for Rastafari to use it in a sacramental environment, or we are still stuck on fighting for it to be totally decriminalized? Which is it?
Yeah, give thanks, King, and give thanks to your cherished listeners online. Yeah, actually taking it from the Rastafari perspective, I think it will be good for I and I to fight for our sacramental usage of the herb rather than broadening
Oh gosh.
I come to wake you up.
the benefits of information the spiritual aspect of Rastafari. So going on the sacramental aspect is the right direction.
Okay. All right. So
Can you hear?
yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you well.
Yeah.
Raskofia Santi, do you?
Direction for the sacramental
Okay,
use.
nice. Raskofia Santi, do you agree? Do you agree with this? Do you think that the advocacy committee should focus on the rights of Rastafari as a quote-unquote religious body to use it for sacrament? Or are we still fixated on trying to get cannabis or marijuana blanket decriminalized?
My lord, I think our work is about the people. So the focus is to get cannabis decriminalized. For I and I, Rastafari, irrespective of the law, I and I is in this thing in cannabis because it's part of our religious sacraments. So we don't wash our hands of it. And consistently, we engage the law to respect that bit. And so, because we are Rastafari, we have to achieve that for ourselves. But as a commission, our work is not restricted to INI Rastafari. Because we appreciate the rights of people, the rights of Ghanaians. Yes, it should be taken into perspective. And so the commission's focus, for instance, when we wanted to embark on the march, on the protest, we were calling on the public to join us, mainly because it wasn't about our rights only as Rastafari, but the rights of the public. Because currently, even if you go to the jail, you realize that most of the people locked up are not INI Rastafari. They are Christians and Muslims who suffer the implications of this law more than INI Rastafari. And so when we fight for the Muslims and Christians, but within we have an internal fight at Rastafari to achieve. But daily, like I'm saying, the Rastafari work is mostly about the people. So,
but being strategic though, when we if you want to take it strategically, right, President Kex, don't you think that it's a walk trot run situation? You know, just like some people are seeing the NACOC bill as progress in a certain direction. I don't know if we all share in that. I personally don't. But you may want to achieve one step before you move on to the next step. Because if you're trying to get it completely decriminalized, then that's when we are going into the area of recreational use. Recreational use means that people can go to the Labadi beach and burn weed and do whatever they want, right? Now, we know that most of the opposition coming against marijuana is coming in the area of people who use it recreationally. I have not heard one single complaint about a Rasta man using it for his sacramental purposes in his own little corner, because you don't associate that with anything negative, right? Nobody can associate a Rasta man using it for sacramental purposes with anything negative. We see Rastas, commune, and then they burn the weed, and then they go on to do their whatever they need to do. And then they make music, or they go to the farm, and there's nothing negative about that. But there's a lot of negativity connected with people who use it outside of these peripheries and go on to do all sorts of other things, right? They will say, oh, when say criminals are arrested, for instance, and they are listing the things they found on them, 9 out of 10 times they will tell you, oh, and then they found weed in their pocket. And then that kind of feeds into the negativity that's associated with it. Don't you think that we should first fight for sacramental use for ourselves before we go on to do the next step? Because if you're in an airplane and then you have to rescue yourself, you're not going to put on the life vest on another person when you yourself haven't put on your life vest yet, right? President, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you that we take on that. But that's why sometimes I was saying that then we have to take it on two fronts.
Mm-hmm.
We have to apply. We've never, as you said, we've never advocated for the legal use of cannabis by Rastafari because we thought as much as to get the whole thing decriminalized,
Yes.
that the people that have criminal, it will also cover the Rastafari community.
Yes.
And literally, we were thinking most that if we just even by applying for this thing for the whole general public, people still accuse us of trying to want to the cannabis or marijuana to be legalized so that you can smoke and after you can smoke. That is all people are trying to tell us about. So if we fight for the about, so if we fight for the decriminalization or legal regulation of the whole product, we were thinking, say, we elaborate the benefits or the financial benefits to the government or to the state. We thought that will convince them to quickly decriminalize or legally regulate marijuana. But as of now, we are. I'm putting up some few things together for everybody to peruse and then edit. When I done that, it will be on the two fronts. We will fight for our ritual usage of the cannabis, and we also fight for the decriminalization of it. But that's the main way. And I think our talking is not going to work unless we take up the Ugandan usage or the South African usage. South Africa is a Rastaman who took it to court and fought for the freedom of Rastafari.
Okay, so you're advocating that this matter should be brought to court.
Yes, I think that is the first place we can really decide this matter. And apart from that, we could still send this new petition to Parliament for them to consider. If it is not being considered, then I think then that we can decide to use the court. But in Uganda, it was the court that, as far as I know now, in Uganda, cannabis, marijuana is completely legal at home. For now, there's no regulation about it. Because the law that amends the unconstitutionality of the court that accepted the unconstitutionality of the law did it. Did it in the spirit of the farmers who are growing the plant and how the law does not know why it is dangerous to them. And it is their livelihood, it has been their livelihood. They even had a local list for it. This is something I am advising our farmers here, the farmers association to adapt. Find a local list which is sent to court. And that one is more like how would I call it? It's more like authentic. It's something we do. It's not anything imported into the country. It's thing like a national. How can it be criminalized when the livelihood of people for so many? And then the big question is, what informs parliamentarians, especially of Ghana, to criminalize cannabis or criminalize a certain plant and leave the other plants uncriminalized?
Well, they'll say that because they are signing on to the International Drug Convention. That's why they did. They are aligning themselves with United Nations.
What informs the United Nations to criminalize cannabis? What informs? They have to explain. The reason why I'm asking this is that there is no reason for anybody to be criminalized for using cannabis. If you read the convention, you study the conventions, the UN convention that criminalize this thing. There is no proof of whatever it is. Is it because of economic reasons? Is it because of racial? Is it because of health issues? You understand what I'm saying? We need to know this even from the UN level. We need to know this. We also need to know how come a plant can be classified as a drug. You know, we have to see why a plant can be classified as a drug. When I ask those questions, they say it is narcotic. Well, that is not. Is it because they want to run away from the word drug, so that's why they are using narcotics or what?
It's a very murky area because, to my understanding, and I got this from the interview with Sept Champon, certain plants like the ayoyo that we use for TZ, for instance, has more THC than some strains of marijuana, right? But they are not banned. So it's a very murky area. And I feel like we can make the fight easier, or we can make it more difficult, in which case it will take longer. But I feel like if we go in for religious rights, it's our right to use it religiously. I think that is low-hanging fruit rather than trying to take on the broader fight, which is something we've been doing for all these years. What do you think, Ras Mauli? Mauli?
Yes, King. Beloved.
Yes. What do you think?
Actually, what you are saying is in the right direction. It's in the right direction because we have to take it from the spiritual aspect of our living. Because the cannabis helps us in many ways. Yeah. So, from the Rastafari perspective, I think it's good for us to concentrate on the. We know what we gain from it. Me, I know what I gain from it. I don't know what the next man gain from it. So I cannot go and talk on behalf of the next man. I'll talk on behalf of myself, benefit or what I get out of it. Yeah, so me, I'll fight for myself first. So I think we should concentrate on the Rastafari right of using the cannabis as our sacrifice.
I think so. I think so. I think that will make a better strategy, right? And plus, like I just said, it's probably going to be easier to fight for religious rights than try to challenge the foundation on which the United Nations criminalize marijuana. That's a big sell, don't you think so, Ras Kofi Asante? Ras. Hello, Ras Kofi Asante.
Sorry, my lord. Yes, yes. Fighting for rights as Rastafari alone will be easier, like you mentioned, it's a low-hanging fruit. However, I don't think that Rastafari is satisfied tomorrow waking up, reading the news that from henceforth Rastafari is free to use cannabis. And then because in the community I live, how many of us are Rastafari? But the boys, the non-Rastafari, Christians and Muslims, I engage, trying to tell me this is where most of the people, the users of cannabis are really and truly. Like, let me try and advocacy efforts. We said we even want them to release persons for cannabis use, right? So we realize that all these persons are Muslims and Christians. Muslims and Christians suffer from cannabis more than Rastafari. Because I know Rastafari, irrespective of what they do, we still have our issue. And so, yes, it is agreeably, it is easy to advocate for religious rights or religious use of cannabis. It will be easier, we can achieve that. And we can prioritize that as a commission because the Rastafari community depends on us to make arguments that makes life more comfortable for them and the of this. is one thing that will make life more comfortable for Rastafari. So I appreciate that, yes, it is the easiest to achieve. However, the main battle we can't see to go simply because we want our supplemental use of cannabis. I think, yes, we should prioritize ourselves that we should look the bigger picture of the criminalizing cannabis for our friends and families as well.
Okay,
as well.
I hear you.
I know Rastafari who knows also that the system is fighting against black people in general, making cannabis illegal, trying to criminalize black people, especially black men. Today we have many black men in prisons. We talk about the prison industrial system, an industry where black people are made products of that industry and using laws that are not even necessary is one of that approach. And so the law on cannabis, we see it as an attack on black people, an attack on black men. And so yes, for starters, we can deal with the rights of Rastafari, but we can never stop or wash our hands off the main struggle of.
I hear you. I hear you, and I totally agree with what you're saying. Just that I think that strategy is essential, right? So that maybe there should be a timeline for this. Like for instance, let's do this first and then move on to the next stage, because otherwise there's the danger of convoluting the whole matter. Okay, because like I said, you find people who you will actually hear people who will self-confess that they smoked weed and did something stupid. I've heard stuff like that. You can't stop that. And these are also human beings also. So if they come out to start talking about the negative impact of weed on they themselves, that is something that people can factor into the discussion. Let me also give this scenario. We have people who smoke weed and do bad things. We can't run away from that. We have people who mix weed with all types of other things and smoke it and have some different type of effects. We can't run away from that. So rather than carrying all that burden of all these people who do not care about us, who do not care about our livelihood, who do not care about our sacraments, don't you think we should lace our own shoes first? And then once we have that in the corner, once that is done, dusted, then we can say, oh, okay, all right, let's move on and engage into a bigger fight. What do you think, President Kex?
What I am saying is that, my Lord, what you are saying is that I disagree that people use cannabis and cause crime, which is true. People use cannabis and cause crime, but that shouldn't criminalize cannabis. Because people eat sugar and go and cause crime.
Yes.
People, any other drink coffee.
People eat banku and go and cause crime. It doesn't make corn bad.
That's the first way. The second way, you all see that initially of having suggestions from people that would just fight for we are freedom. But the main aim of the whole the main aim of the commissioner, the ADVOCACY Assembly, the reason why for the
Hello?
arrested by police. Can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You sound a bit distant.
My nephew cannot, or my uncle cannot go and be arrested for the possession of cannabis, and then I will be happy or I will sit back because I'm a Rasta man. I don't care about that.
Yes, we get that. That's clear. But I'm talking about strategy, right? I'm basically talking about strategy because the thing is that, and let me say this, Ghanaian people are some of the hardest people to advocate for. Ghanaians are some of the hardest people to advocate for. I'm saying this without any apology. Let me give you an example. Was it just yesterday or the day before? There was a demonstration in England where people were, going to protest against how the government is functioning and all of that. Now, there's another group of people who also made placards to come and demonstrate against that. What the heck is that? Like, you were saying that, and then they were saying, oh, Ghanaians are happy. Some of the placards they held are saying, no, Ghanaians are happy. And then they have a megaphone and they're shouting over oh no, you people, you are not Ghanaians. Go back where you. This is stupidity. That's what I'm talking about, Rasta. Because you will be advocating for people who will be advocating against you. And I'm not saying this to say that it's not important to advocate for the general. I'm saying, why don't we make sure that we are secure first? Because you'll be advocating, and then there are people who will come and say, no. The other day I was watching some video. I was so vexed I couldn't finish watching it. The guy is saying, oh, I didn't Ghana cry, yen legalize we cry, yen hu yen no dada. Na fe ye baby legalize we. I didn't almost say yen call for the border. Some kind of stupidity. And this comes to the education. 1 second. This comes to the education aspect, right? People have to be educated. But we all know it's not a one-day thing. So in the course of educating people who don't seem to be ready for the message, we're still under that duress of being criminalized for the use of the sacrament. For the use of the herb. Why can't we secure our sacramental use first? And then based on the strength of that, move on to advocate for anybody else who wants to be advocated for. That's what I'm saying. Makes sense at all?
Yeah, it makes sense. But the only thing is that I can assure you the ganja smokers are not fighting against what we are doing. It's only those people who are the main problem, who are like people who don't have any facts, and they are using their opinion to do this judgment.
I disagree with you, Kex. I disagree with you. You know why? Because there are people who are hypocritical about it. There are people who are smoking, but they feel like if they come out and take a certain stance, then it takes the attention of them. There are pastors who smoke weed and come out and criticize weed in public. There are people like that. And plus, we are not even talking about just weed smokers. There are also people who are Ghanaians whose opinions should also be factored in, who don't smoke weed and therefore would go against it. So we're talking about the totality of that.
Yeah, but you see, you cannot go against something when you don't have any knowledge about the effect of whatever happens to you. You only think, say, this is what happens, and then you use that to fight something. This is where we need to really let opinion, let's back resist opinion. And we will fight. We will fight for our own. We will fight for our own. Because that's now we decided we will take that step. But we are not leaving the general fighting already. We will carry the two of them on.
Okay.
But I think what you are saying now is that we can really start fighting for the sacramental use of it by Rastafari.
Yes.
And then to Parliament, while we are preparing to go to court for the interpretation of the law.
Yes.
Of the constitution or whatever.
Yes. Yes. And by the way, I agree with you totally about going to court, right? Because in as much as I personally, and I'm speaking advisedly, I personally don't have too much faith in the courts as to do anything too remarkably different from what they've already been doing. At least it's worth a try. And then because if we go to court and they don't do the needful, then we can move on to the next step. But I also think that it should be a three-pronged approach. Parliament, court, executive. I think that the approach should be with all these three branches, if possible, simultaneously, so that whilst the matter is in court, it's also before Parliament and it's also before the executive. And now let me ask you, Rasmauli, I think we had a discussion the other day where we were talking about trying to make it an issue for voting, right? Believe me, there's a ghetto in every town. Every major town in Ghana has a ghetto. if we are able to get people to stand up to it, we can make it a campaign issue. Don't you think so, Rasmauli?
Yeah, give thanks. Very necessary. But to tackle or to add up to what my senior brothers have said concerning the attitudinal or the character aspect of people using cannabis and doing bad itself is not a bad thing, but it's the behavior of the people that portray to be bad. So, for instance, if you check our movie industries like this, especially most of the Nigeria and this Kuma movie, you see that people will be holding jobs as if they are smoking ganja, and they will be shooting, they will be robbing. All those things, is an act of the media adding the negative aspects to the cannabis use. You see? So me, I think the Rastafari community have to distinguish ourselves from the Muslim and the Christianity, because the Christian doesn't talk for us. The Muslim, when the tagging come, they can change themselves that they don't smoke it, but we have the laws, and we as the users of the herb. So to me, I think we have to distinguish ourselves from the camp.
Very important.
Because it's our start now. And
very important point.
Coming back to the question, I think we have to open it up for the election next year. Which government is ready, to give the rights to the people for cannabis issue? Because it's our right to use it. Forget about the Constitution, because the plant was there before the Constitution, and we are talking about creation.
But the Constitution upholds our right to use it.
Those are the things we are talking.
Russ, the Constitution upholds our right, because the Constitution is where we find that we have the right to use it for sacramental purposes. That's where we are drawing our strength from. We're not going to go out of the Constitution, but you really can't go out of the Constitution.
Amendment of it. There should be an amendment to the Constitution.
Even the Constitution, as it is right now, upholds our right to sacramentally use cannabis. That's what I'm trying to say. It's subject to interpretation, but that's why we have to go to the court to have that tested. Because the thing is that the Constitution says that people, Ghanaians, are free to follow whatever religion that they desire. Now, my religion says that I should use cannabis for my spiritual upliftment. So how is anybody going to take that away from me? So that's what I'm saying. The Constitution itself really upholds our right to do that. So we can't even go out of the Constitution. Once you go out of the Constitution, you seem to be asking too much. We can stand on the Constitution as is and still claim our rights. But you raised a very important question. A very important point, Ras Mauli, because you know what? The media is a major tool that has been used to propagate the negativity associated with cannabis. Movies, especially, radio. Even when the NACOC Bill came out, some of the presenters on radio still speaking very negatively about cannabis or marijuana. Oh, necessarily, you say, abunsam tawano, ye muso biya betimi, and to say the no one say all kind of nonsense, right? And then, like you said, you watch movies and you see people smoking weed for negative purposes and all of that. In America, when they were ready to start decriminalizing, one of the things they did, and go check this out, they made a flurry of pro-cannabis movies. Till this day, people keep producing movies that are pro-cannabis. Ice Cube had a movie called Friday, which was about, smoking weed and being home and all that. It's funny, but then it has nothing negative to it, right? And then they follow. Right now, he has Friday. I think there's about 4 different versions of that movie. There are so many different movies on cannabis where people smoke weed and then they enjoy themselves. They are home. They are eating. They are whatever it is. That tag is gradually being taken away through the same movies that was used earlier to depict negativity. So as an advocacy committee, one of the things we have to very much be aware of is that we have to engage the use of media, radio, TV, movies, all of that. Are there any plans around that? I know there are, because this very show that we have, or we're having, is one such. But we have to extend it, right? And you kind of tree say, you know, penny forecast and be almost say, right? So you start something and then you keep doing it, and then eventually people will latch onto it. Can we, for instance, invest in a movie that will be pro-cannabis? Can we get some radio DJs who will subliminally put out the message so people can latch onto it? Is this part of our grand plan? Raskofia Asante, please take this up for me.
Greetings, my lord. Yes, this is part of our plan. One time we, at our last retreat, deciding on how to change the negative media images about Rastafari. One of the things that we also propose is to come out with a movie, like a movie production or a film, or to introduce like videos that have positive images about Rastafari, about cannabis, and what have you. So the idea is there. The decision has been taken at the last Rastafari retreat. But in terms of achieving that, we have not. We were able to get some radio programs. One of our members, secretary, started a radio program on Black Santinos program, which was part of the idea to change or to create a more positive images about Rastafari. I think where we have changed it on, especially Ice Cube getting movie series, the idea was taken, but we have not engaged persons who have the wherewithal to support us. I think that is the next step that we should be taking.
Yes.
Coordinating with the movie industry.
And the key point,
that can help.
The key point that I hear you raise is wherewithal. Wherewithal. It's very important, right? The wherewithal. And that's where we must all come in, because it's not easy to do anything like that. And as a committee, you know, your sources of funding may be limited. So I understand that it's not being done yet. It will be a grand plan which should be really considered so that it can take off in not too long from now. But I think that is something that we should definitely focus on, right? Because the damage, yes, the damage that the negativity.
With your inclusion and the resources that you are making available to the commission, I trust if we itemize this in one of our meetings, with your inclusion, we can present it himself. He has the wherewithal to help us in terms of identifying persons, funds, and what have you.
Yeah.
We can get that. And so I believe we should prioritize, we should set this as one of our priorities.
I am very interested in it, and we will speak behind the scenes about making it a reality. We'll definitely have to make that a reality, and not just a one-off thing. We could actually, these days, we don't have to go and beg GTV or GBC or whoever to broadcast our stuff anymore. We can actually have a website or even a YouTube channel where we can even have series running, right? So that it's not just one movie even. It's like skits, you know, which shouldn't take too much to produce. People produce skits with their phones even. But we'll have the discussion on the side. You know, we could set up something which will be like on YouTube, promote it heavily. People go there, watch. Every week there's a new episode of the skit, but it's all focused on ganja and its good uses, whilst subliminally introducing humor, for instance, so that people can watch it and laugh. That's what Friday does. Ice Cube's Friday. That's what it does. You go watching it with the intent to laugh, but after you watch it, you realize that, oh wait, you have a bigger message, which is that really and truly, these people are smoking all the weed and nothing is really happening. Like all this nonsense that they say, you know. But anyways, our time is fast approaching. We actually went above the 1 hour today because we started late. But going forward, this is going to be a regular occurrence. This I was very happy when I had a discussion with the advocacy committee, and through that, the brilliant minds that make up that community or the committee came up with the idea that we should have a regular discourse on radio to enlighten people, you know, and also to show the work of the advocacy committee. So every Saturday you will be hearing us on different topics, right? We started today looking at the NACOC Bill. My takeaway is that the NACOC Bill was not made or was not passed with the Rastaman in mind at all. And there's very little, if anything at all, in there for I&I, like President Kirk said. And I kind of agree to a very large extent. Because even the small part that is like the piecemeal that they threw at us is still a very gray area. You know, personal use. If you're caught with personal use, then you get a fine. Why should I get fined? Why can I eat kinky and not get fined for using corn, but get fined for using cannabis? Number one. Number two, it's how much is personal use? How much is personal use? Because for somebody, they'll buy one roll and divide it in 2 or 3. One small and put small down and bowl, you know. And for some other people, they'll buy 4 rolls and combine it in 1. So if you say personal use, what is the parameters for measuring personal use? You know, so I think we are all agreed on this discussion, at least, that the NACOC bill didn't do too much for us. So therefore, the NACOC bill is not our bill. We are going to push for another bill, which is hopefully going to decriminalize marijuana for general usage. But I am suggesting, and I think that at least I have some support, if not total support, from my panel today, that it should be a strategic approach where we kind of take it up for ourselves first as the Rastafari community, right? Because as a Rasta man or a Rasta woman, even without smoking, I know some Rastas who don't smoke, but they still suffer the persecution of cannabis. Meanwhile, there are other people who smoke and then wipe their mouth and come outside and talk nonsense, right? And contribute to all the negative stuff that we have to deal with. So anyhow, before we go, let me see how much time we have left. Ooh, we only have 2 minutes left. But let's hear last words from everybody before we go. Let's start with you, Ras Mauli.
Yeah, give thanks, Jah beloved, for giving us this opportunity. You know, we have used you as through the media that, you know, you advocate that we should use. You are one of the media, and it's good that we have used you for this conversation. And we give thanks that we have enlightened ourselves this afternoon and this morning in America to your cherished listeners. So, Rastafari Council and the Advocacy Committee give thanks for your good words. Yes.
And I give thanks for you making yourself available for the discussion. Thank you very much. Ras Kofi Asante.
Yes, my Lord.
Last words, Ras.
My Lord, we give thanks for your listeners. We want them to keep sharing this conversation, like you mentioned, is going to be monthly. They should inform their brethren and sisters to join this, because this platform is platform we are going to use to educate people about cannabis, to change the negative stereotype and all that's about cannabis. So we ask that when it's time for such conversation, they should share, your listeners should do well to share the link and ensure that there are enough people. We also want them to comment go to the YouTube channel and other Facebook platforms and comment so that we can know the feedback of some of these conversations.
Very important.
In our subsequent conversation, we can address some of these concerns that you have. My Lord, yourself, we appreciate the platform. And like we've mentioned, we give thanks that it's going to be a regular platform for the education, not only education, but educating people, but recruiting soldiers into the coalition to help us with the work that we do.
Yes. Thank you very much, Ras. And before I go to President Kex finally, let me mention that this show is live on several channels. In fact, it's more than several, on many channels. But sometimes that poses a problem because people don't know where exactly to go to catch the show because, they may be getting too many leads. Don't be confused. The best way, really and truly, to catch the show is by downloading the app on your phone. That way, once you tap on it, that's all you have to do. You don't have to do much, right? Rather than go on the website and type in and all that, which I know people hate to do, just download the app on your phone. It's called Radio Culture. You go to the Google Play Store and then you type in Radio Culture. Culture is spelled Kulcha. So Radio Culture, download the app, and that's your best bet to catching not just this show, but all other shows, including our morning show called Sunrise on Radio Culture, which is brought to you from Studio 2 in Kumasi every weekday morning. And then also, all the other stuff that we present to you. But yes, go and download the app. Apart from the app, you can also get this show on our main website, www.ghnewsnow.com. Once you go on the homepage, you will see a radio player icon on the right-hand side. Click on the play button, and that's all. You will be connected to this show and to any other show on Radio Culture. Also, you can get us on modernghana.com. If you go on modernghana.com, go on the radio section, type in Radio Culture. Remember, culture is spelled Kulcha, Radio Culture, and then click on the link. Then you will also be live connected with the show. There are about 8 or so other platforms that I will not waste your time discussing right now, because like I said, people get confused. So my suggestion are these ones that I've told you. Download the app is the number one thing. Apart from that, ghnewsnow.com, modernghana.com, MyTuner Radio is also where you can get it. If we don't have the iOS version of the app yet, so if you want a shortcut that works like an app for you and you are using an iPhone, go on MyTuner Radio, mytunerradio.com, and download Radio Culture, right? That will put a shortcut on your phone that works just like an app. But for the most part, if you're an Android user, best bet, go on Google Play Store, download the app. Thank you very much. Also, from next week, we'll be shifting this live show on Facebook. We normally stream our shows on YouTube because of the restrictions concerning music. A lot of the times when we go on YouTube, on Facebook, puts all types of stumbling blocks in our way. And so that's why we started streaming on the social media platforms. We started using YouTube. However, you realize that this show is not music-based. So Facebook should really have no problem with us streaming without putting any nonsense restrictions in our way. So from next week, we'll be switching the social media feed from YouTube to Facebook for this show, not for every other show. Please remember, because tomorrow, for instance, for Reggae Reverbs and the Top 10 GH Reggae Dancehall Chart show, that is music-based. So we can't stream that on Facebook. That will still stay here on YouTube. But for this show, please mark, the link would be on Facebook and not YouTube starting next week. Thank you very much for your patience and thank you very much for tuning in. Before we leave, let's hear from the man, President Kex Pongo. Last words, press.
Yeah, radio culture, listeners and viewers on other platforms. This thanks for tuning in and watching. As you said, share the station, tell the general public that especially Ghanaian, this thing we are doing involves everybody's family. One of your uncles or your nephews or your nieces or your children or your grandchildren
Fact.
will be part of this cannabis criminalization, whereby they may find themselves in a place whereby they don't supposed to be. So I would advise all Ghanaians to use and put their opinions aside and face facts, and also use conscience to judge it, so that we stop the prejudice of people thinking, so we don't able to go around smoking weed. That's not the whole story about this. It's about people's freedom and also financial freedom for the whole country. Because to me, the marijuana of this kind are more money than them. So take this serious. As for people who worry about people using it, we've been using it for years and we still use it. And the Lord couldn't stop anybody from using it. So let's think about the other aspects of it. Give thanks.
Give thanks and praises every time. We give thanks to word, give thanks to sound, give thanks to power, give thanks to the Holy One of creation, Adonai, Jah, Rastafari. We give thanks to our guests also for making the time for this show today. Like I said, it's only the beginning. Next week, catch us same time. In fact, catch us a bit earlier because we were a bit late today. We're about 15 minutes late. Next week, hopefully, we can start on time and bring you the fullness of the show. Next week will be a different topic, same emphasis, same focus. This has been the Advocacy Committee of the Rastafari Council, Ghana. I thank you, my lords. Thank you very much, and see you next week. All right. In the meantime, we leave you in the hands of Jah Beloved. Call this one Mary Juju.
I just smoke it to elevate my mind. I just smoke it to deal with the hustle and the grind. I just smoke it to cope with the times. Oh, my sweet Mary Jane, on my way. You light up my world, literally. Sometimes we are on it, enough times we are done it, and when it's fresh, we are sorry. We say over the hill, the farmer.
Yeah, man, culture come to play. Be a big soul, man, red and come to waste no time, man. Come out and come to the age while we are bad water. I'm a road AKA love to represent that each area. Let them know what I want culture.
I love to kiss on you,
Yes, indeed. Blessed love. My name is Jah Beloved. I'm out. Catch me tomorrow at 2 p.m. Ghana time, 9 a.m. Texas time, as we bring you reggae reverbs. On reggae reverbs tomorrow, there will be no guest. I'll be throwing down a rhythm. And this time, for the first time, it's not going to be the wedding money rhythm. I've done many versions of the wedding money rhythm showdown. Tomorrow, I'm bringing you a brand new showdown. I'm bringing you the meditation rhythm showdown. The meditation rhythm mix. Do make a date. And then at 11 o'clock Texas time, which should be about 4 o'clock Ghana time, we'll be coming your way with the top 10 GH Reggae Dancehall show, the chart show.
prisoners from custom.
In the meantime, my name is Ja Beloved. I'm out like a light. More love every time. See you tomorrow.
Much love every time. Let me bring everywhere. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man, culture come to play be a big sound pan radio and not come to waste my time, man. But out and some little DJ while we are part voter. I'm around AKA love to represent for the DJ. Make them know what one culture.
I mean, I see no past play me one. Tune into radio reverse. With Ja Beloved and radio culture. Just want to keep it quiet.
I just smoke it to elevate my mind. I just smoke it to deal with the hustle. I say, irritate.
Radio culture, your number one internet radio station. Bad, 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 bad,